Hey everybody, it's Dr. Karen, and today I wanted to talk about how you can help your kids start to help out around the house without needing to constantly nag them and handhold. So, obviously, if you're a person who likes to make sure that your house is pretty clean, or if you just want to make sure that things get done, like doing the dishes and the laundry and keeping things picked up so that you're not walking around in a total mess. Sometimes it can feel like you're the only one that is doing anything, especially if you feel like you're constantly picking up after your family members. And if you have kids, most likely your kids. And this can be really frustrating, especially if you feel like you're the only one that's actually helping out. And maybe you've tried to get your kids to pick up their toys, clean their rooms, do basic chores, but whenever you do it, they either refuse or maybe they kind of go along with it, but they don't really do a very good job. And so what happens is that it actually ends up being more work and more stress for you because you've got to get them to do it and, get them motivated to actually get started. And then once it's done, it's not done well. So you have to go back and redirect them and help them through it. And at the end of the day, you end up just thinking, you know what, forget it. I'm just going to do it on my own, which, in the long run means that your kids are less independent with those tasks. And in the long run, you're still the one responsible for doing everything around the house. So, in your head, you're kind of thinking, well, this means that I'm always going to be the one picking up after everyone in my house. And on the other hand, you're also worried about your kids thinking, well, how are they ever going to learn to do this on their own? How are they ever going to learn how to be a functioning adult if they don't learn how to be independent and do things like put the dishes away, vacuum the house, clean a room, or even make a basic meal for themselves, get ready in the morning, all of those things that are basic independent skills that you want your kids to have. And maybe you have been trying to get your kids to do this for a while, different things like that I've mentioned. And sometimes you think, shouldn't they be able to do this at this age? And it can be very stressful. So I wanted to talk a little bit about why that can happen and why you can sometimes get in this endless cycle of having to, if you're wanting to keep your house clean, it kind of feels like an endless treadmill, like you're picking things up and then you go back and look at the room and it's like, okay, it's messy again. What's the deal? I just spent an hour cleaning up and now my house is a mess again. So that can be very frustrating. And when it comes to actually getting your kids to help out, a lot of times people will try to do little motivation and positive reinforcement, and all that stuff is fine. But a lot of times when you have kids who aren't necessarily following through with that, well, sometimes it can be if you have trained them to think you're just going to go and help them out with it, they just kind of expect it, so they don't learn to pick up after themselves. So some of that is a little bit behavioral in that aspect, but a lot of times the reason that it's so hard to get them to help out in the first place is because they're lacking what's known as executive functioning skills. So the executive function in your brain is the area and the skills that help you to engage in behavior that allows you to work towards a specific goal that requires multiple steps and sustained attention. So if you think about it, if you walk into a messy house, it can feel pretty overwhelming. It's kind of like, whoa, there's all this stuff, and where do I even start? And for you, if you have developed the skills to know how to do certain things, specific tasks that require a lot of different steps, and you learn how to work through that, you probably have an awareness of the process. You know what the steps are, you know where to start. But if your kids haven't developed those executive functioning skills, they might not know how to do that. And so sometimes the way that the behaviors appear, it seems like it's a lack of motivation, a defiance, or even just not caring about doing something. And It can also appear that they're procrastinating or avoiding, but a lot of times those things are just symptoms of a bigger issue, which is that they don't know how to break whatever that task is, even if it's a super simple thing like brushing your teeth or getting dressed. All of those things require multiple steps. And all of those things require executive functioning skills. They require an awareness of the planning and the sequence of where do I start, what order do I go with all of these steps, and how do I know when I'm done, and how do I monitor myself throughout this process to know that I'm going to get through this task in a reasonable amount of time, and meet a certain deadline if it's time sensitive, and also know, am I actually getting towards my goal? And so a lot of times if you ask your kids to clean something and it looks like they're not making any progress, it might be because they don't have that awareness of being able to look and say, oh, are the things that I'm actually doing to clean or finish this task actually getting me closer to where I want to go? So if you've had kids who, maybe you ask them to do something like pick something up or clean their room, or, like pick up their toys in the living room, if they're not exactly sure how to do that, and if they're not exactly sure how to survey the situation and see, oh, is this room starting to look cleaner? Do I know what clean looks like? If they don't have those skills, it might mean because it is a lack of executive functioning. So that could be why when you're trying to get your kids to help out with basic things like that, it seems like it's just really hard and kind of an uphill battle, which can be very frustrating for them because they don't want to do it. And if something's hard for them, obviously you're going to avoid, but also hard for you because it actually makes more work for you initially because, it's not just the time it would have taken you to do the thing that you're asking them to do. It's also the time that you have to take in helping them through it and, redirecting them and motivating them and all of those things that are required in helping them through it. So with all that being said, I wanted to share a free resource that I have for you that's going to help you understand these executive functioning skills. There are actually 8 different executive functions. And sometimes if you are able to look at these different skills, you can start to look at, okay, what are my kids doing when I ask them to do certain things around the house, and where might they be struggling? Because breaking those skills down can help you to have a better understanding of why they aren't following through with things. And on your end, it can give you a better understanding so you know how to help them, but it can also help you to have more compassion for them because it will help you to understand where they are and why they're doing what they're doing. Again, it can be very frustrating when it feels like on your end that they just don't care, that they're just being defiant, when a lot of times it's not the case. It might be just that they don't know where to start. So those other behaviors are coming out secondary to the fact that the task is overwhelming and frustrating to them. So I will share a link in the description of this video where you can download that guide. Again, the free guide is going to walk you through those executive functioning skills that are going to help help your child and help people as well, just to engage in those goal-directed behaviors. And so I've talked about chores and things around the house in this video, but this can be other things like really complex tasks. And also for kids, if you have a child who has a hard time doing independent work for school and organizing their homework assignments, this can be something that can present there as well. And on specific academic tasks like reading comprehension, math problems that require multiple steps, or just an assignment in general to figure out, all right, how do I sit down and go through this assignment? How do I study for this test? All of those things. So anything that requires multiple steps requires executive functioning skills. So a lot of times if you have a child who has a difficult time with executive functioning skills, they might be very intelligent, but you're just not seeing it in their schoolwork and the way that they're functioning. But the good thing is that we can train these skills. So that means that if you have a child who is underachieving, you can help them to build these skills so that they can reach their full potential. So sign up for that guide. It'll walk you through those executive functioning skills, and feel free to share this video or tag a friend in the comments if you think it would help them as well.